This is Newcap News with Lauren Poland.
Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. We start tonight with an update on the Athabasca pipeline spill that happened last week near Elk Point. According to Enbridge officials, the pumping station at fault is fixed and fully operational. The contaminated soil around the station was quarantined and has since been removed. Enbridge is bringing in environmental experts to analyze the area to make sure there's no further damage. Approximately 1,400 barrels of oil were spilled. The Athabasca pipeline is located 24 kilometers east of Elk Point. A 32-year-old man made his first court appearance in North Battleford today after a weekend shooting incident. RCMP were called out yesterday afternoon when a 911 call came in about a man with a gun uttering threats. 2 shots were fired at the home, but RCMP say there are no reports of injuries. Mounties seized a CO2-powered BB handgun while making the arrest. The man is charged with numerous offenses, including pointing a firearm and failing to comply with conditions of probation. Well, just over a year ago, the Lloydminster Public School Division released the name of the future kindergarten to grade 9 school. And soon construction will begin on College Park as the list of potential contractors is narrowed down.
Well, we're down to, I think, probably about 2 or 3 alternate prices we're in discussion with the ministry about, and we're hoping that within the next 24 to 48 hours we'll be able to get some resolution around those elements.
Originally, the LPSD had hoped to open the school for the fall of next year, but now Diachuk says they're looking to 2014.
But what we're seeing is that the tenders that have come in really have all consistently looked at a 2-year window.
And while the addition of a new school looks to take a bit longer than first thought, our population growth shows no sign of slowing down.
We've added a relocatable at Bar Colony School to address some of those enrollment pressures, and certainly we're aware of other parts of the city, but I think that extra year will give us another year planning to address some of those issues as well.
The new school will be eco-friendly, focusing on the use of natural light and energy conservation. Wicked spring weather has wreaked havoc on area roads, and now local municipalities are paying the price. In order to fix the huge craters, the RM of Wilton won't allow some heavier trucks to travel through the municipality as of tomorrow. The RM is switching from primary to secondary weights. That means many big rig trucks will have to spread out their load by adding more wheels to distribute the weight, or by adding more trucks to the fleet, taking a smaller amount of goods. Officials say the RM will switch back to primary weights in 2 months' time. Meantime, despite also dealing with rough roads at this time, the RM of Britannia will continue on the primary weight scale. With the B. Fisher recycling facility closing its doors at the end of the week, Quick Pick Waste Disposal is preparing to open a new building to the public. The new facility has been in the works for a year since the fate of B. Fisher was announced.
We've acquired all the land and buildings just north of us, waiting for the current tenant to vacate those buildings shortly. We're going to modify one of the buildings to the recycle center. Right now it'll just be in one of the temporary buildings. But
Dalton says the addition will help the community.
We have to recycle. We have to train the public to recycle more. A lot of products going into the landfill that just shouldn't be going in there. So many things could be recycled. So this is filling the void where B. Fisher is shutting their facility down.
The facility will not be a bottle depot and will accept tires and scrap metal. The temporary recycling center will be open July 3rd. Well, the city is looking towards the future, analyzing what the next 50 years will look like in Lloydminster. And it will be a little shinier with a new addition. Elise Cox is outside council chambers and brings us this report.
Council today began with the introduction of a new member to the Chambers. Lloydminster now has its very own scepter. Tracy Klotz from Titus Tools created the scepter that he says represents oil, farming, and cattle, the heart and soul of our city. A number of grants were also awarded today. A total of $45,000 were allocated to 13 groups involved in recreation and culture in our community from the Saskatchewan Lotteries program. And Lloydminster Community Grant Society awarded $9,000 to the Urban Aboriginal Community Program. And the city will begin analysis of population and market forecasts for the next 30 to 50 years for the cost of $92,000, most of that going to environmental and ecological studies. We'll have the full story on some of these council updates tomorrow on Newcap News. Reporting outside council chambers, I'm Elise Cox.
It's been more than 2 months since the provincial election and the shocking departure of longtime Lac La Biche St. Paul Two Hills MLA Ray Daniluk. And as Clayton Brown explains, newly elected MLA Shane Saskew has been a busy man.
April 23rd turned out to be a defining day for both Shane Saskew and the residents of the St. Paul Two Hills Lac La Biche riding. For the first time in more than a decade, there was a new representative. 2 months later, he's settling in to his new role.
The legislature was a totally different experience that I've ever had before, but I've slowly learned that process, and I've had a few roles that the Wild Rose has given me, the leader, and so that's been quite a big learning experience, but it's been very exciting.
Saskew has actually taken on 3 roles for the Wild Rose Party, and he says he's embracing them all.
Justice and Solicitor General critic. So that means that every single piece of legislation that passes, I'll have my hands on it because the Justice Minister is quite involved in that. The second role is the Deputy House Leader. So I've learned parliamentary procedure. And then my third role is to do media. So whenever Danielle's not available for press scrums, I do the media.
Although he's only been the MLA for 2 short months, Saskew says he's already aware of many issues throughout the constituency and is working hard to solve them.
I'm working on a dialysis unit. That's a big thorn in the side for Lac La Biche to actually have a dialysis unit in the hospital. Locally in St. Paul, there's issues with the psych wing that I've talked to people about, as well as the food situation in the hospitals. And in Elk Point, there's a variety of other issues. So I'm working hard to try and ensure that our constituents are well represented.
In St. Paul, Clayton Brown, Newcap News.